Welcome to all, and thank you so much for being there. Today is a very special day for our WIN, Global Networking, because we are joining with other WIN, that is mental health and wellnesses, and to celebrate, because for that is about joy, to celebrate what means open-minded and healthy exchange. It's about debate, it's about exchange, it's about learning from each other. And for that, we need to debate, we need to talk, to open our minds to the new, how to face crisis, how to be inspired one to the other. If we go to the WHO, World Health Organization, we see that 1 on 8 persons in the world suffer from mental illnesses. Only in USA, United States of America, have 1 on 5 persons suffer from mental illnesses. After COVID, they trigger on a 25%. So it's really a pressing issue that we need to address. And that's the way we do it here in Global Networking, creating connection, creating networking. Why? Because one of the factors to get into mental illnesses is isolation and loneliness. So through connection, through networking, we could get into healthy exchange and healthy minds. So that is our contribution. And for that, today, we have the honor, the pleasure, and as I said before, the joy, why not, to welcome Prasanna Chowdhury from Bangladesh. She is Managing Director and CEO of Green Delta Insurance Company Limited, President of Entrepreneur Organization Bangladesh, and of course, what makes us be delighted, she 100 Global Chair for Mental Health and Wellnesses. Prasanna, you are very welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Mar. It's been an honor for me to join here and speak about mental health. And this is, after COVID, people now realize that why mental health is so much important. So can I have my slides? Yeah. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So what I would just, talk about the awareness, like I said, that till now, till COVID hit us, people do not realize that why mental health is important. Now, if we see that what is actually meant by mental health, it is, we know that we have a physical body and a mind, and we need physical wellness. That is like taking care of our taking care of our health, like eating the right food, doing exercise. But do we think of taking care of our mind and heart, and that leads to emotional and psychological and social well-being? Sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. And that actually really a good mental health situation leads us towards handling stress, mental stress, and other complications that we deal with every day in our personal and our professional lives. We regarding the mental health, we talk about our internal well-being, means in our physical and also how we are doing well mentally or heart wise, or is our mind okay or not? Are we at peace? Are we stressful, or are we stressing about our illness of our loved ones, or losing someone, or losing a good friend, or losing income, or losing your job? Are you at peace? And all those values and beliefs that we have regarding our mental wellness. And the other thing is positive, and to be positive and optimistic. I mean, if you are always positive, like what Mars said, that we always need to have a good networking so that we can deal these problems by ourselves together. Next, like I said, people really do not talk about mental health, or do we really know? There are some myths in the past that children don't face mental health issues. That's the kind of people, parents believe that, no, I don't, my children, they don't have any problems. But do they know when the children go to the schools or outside home, they are exposed to the bullies and other issues that causes mental health issues. And the fact is, actually half of the mental health disorders are actually discriminable before the age of 14. However, the many children who are struggling with mental health do not receive the treatment they need, because we do not agree that our children can have mental illness. The other one is people with mental health issues. They are violent and dangerous, but it's the other way around. Actually, that's the myth. But the fact is, actually, those who face mental health issues is actually due to violence, and they are victims of violence, and that's how they go through the mental health issues. And you can see in US, only 3 to 5% of the violent crimes in the US are committed by individual with mental health conditions. Um, some people, there's a myth that mental health conditions are very rare, which is also not true. You just mentioned by Amar that one WHO said that 1 to 8 people, one out of 8 people, one have mental issues. As many, if one of in 4 individual will struggle with their mental health issues at some point in their lives. Other myth is like overcoming mental health condition is just a matter of willpower, which is also not true. You cannot do it alone. There are, there's networking, there are counseling, and factors like trauma, genetics, injury, brain chemistry, greater contributors to mental health issues than mindsets. So there are treatments, the specific treatments. There are psychologists, psychiatrists who actually do counseling, and which are quite effective. We can see that what are the negative, how can what can negatively affect mental health and well-being. There are many things like poverty. If I don't have a job, if I don't have an income to run my home and give good education to my children, or I don't have any food to feed my children, that's poverty. So poverty can lead to mental illness. Inequality, if you're working, if you're doing you're going in a workplace and you're not treated equal, just like women, they're not treated equally by men. So that's actually also causes the mental illness. Wherever we go, women, we always have to work twice as harder than men to prove our worth. So every day we actually handle stress, and that can lead to mental illness if we do not take care of ourselves, if we do not take care of our mental mind, and to be at peace. Social isolation, loneliness, low level of education, rapid social change. I mean, you were working somewhere and now you're thrown in the gutter, and you were working in one country, now you're deported. So these are rapid social change. Emergencies, like last year my brother went through a very serious leukemia, blood disorder, and I had to take him to Kuala Lumpur, and I was there for 10 months alone in a lockdown situation. That is an emergency. So how did I tackle all those? So these are emergency issues. Stressful work conditions. There are work conditions which actually let people sometimes commit suicide, that they cannot meet their deadlines, and because they can be demoted for that. Discrimination and other human rights violation. That's we always know that women always face discrimination. Not only women, there are other diversified professionals who work in an environment and face discrimination. Violence and abuse, I talked about that. This happens always. Physical health conditions. If you're not well, if your health is not well, it affects your mind. If you're not working, your mind gets doesn't get the the food, and then you lose your memory, you go through Alzheimer's. So there are a lot of other brain issues. And then the other one is like inexistent and inadequate services or support, if you don't get support from surroundings or any other places. Just to talk about the women's participation, I would just like highlight a little bit of Bangladesh, that our population is 164 million people, where 49% the population is women, and the financial literacy rate is 44%. It's the numbers are good. Only 58% women are using mobile internet usage. It's although a little low, 13%, but the thing is, the gender gap in financial accessibility, like getting financial access to the financial industry, that is actually, the gap is 20%. So that's how the women, on the marginal segment and other areas, women go through mental stress, that they cannot get access to finance. As you can see, the global population is 7.98 billion, where women population is 49.5%. And women's contribution in GDP in Bangladesh is 34%, where yet they earn only 10% of the world's income. We always, when I talk about inequality, you can see the women's pay are always less, where they are doing more hard work than men, but men are getting more recognition and also payment more, because the people's mindset is, okay, women, they have husbands and their brothers, their fathers, so they don't need more income. So the payment is a big issue. The birth attended by skilled health personnel, if you can see, from 1994, it has been increased. 2020, the situation is increasing. The global women's healthcare market, it's also being improved in USD billion from 29 to 2020. 2024. It's there's a kind of projection, then it will increase, but still. When UN says in the SDG that the women economic security, the women empowerment, we need to have 150 years to achieve the women empowerment. I think this is a platform that we can prove that all women together across the globe, women do not. We do not need 150 years to empower women. We can empower ourselves, and we can empower ourselves in terms of mental health. Next is, if you can see that, just a little bit of statistics I wanted to share. 1 in 5 women, 19% of they experience a common mental disorder, such as anxiety or depression, compared to 1 in 8, that is 12% men. So women suffers more than men. If you see that, like 29% Black woman, 24% Asian women, and 29% mixed race women has a common mental disorder, compared to 21% white British women and 16% white other women. So you can see, women in Southeast Asian countries or in Africa, they suffer more than the women in the developed nations. In terms of abuse, 53% of women who have mental health problems have experienced abuse. And more than 3/4 of women, that is 78% of women who have faced extensive physical and sexual abuse in both childhood and adulthood. So you can see that there are a lot of sexual and physical violence that women face more than men, and of course in terms of abuse as well. In terms of poverty, 29% of women in poverty experience a common mental disorder health, compared to 16% women, those who are not in poverty. If you see the young woman and the girls, 75% of mental health issues are established before the age of 24. That is during the young age, people go through more mental stress, and 26% of the young women experience a common mental disorder such as anxiety or depression, almost 3 times more than young men. As you can see, technology is an enabler, and through technology we are being connected more. Like, this is a platform where, women across the globe, we are connected to G100 and talking about mental wellness, how we can, help each other and heal each other. And that is a technology has given us. But at the same time, technology also has given us more stress, that you need to be more prompt. When once a business deal used to take 2 to 3 months, now through in technology you can settle a business in 2 3 hours time. So technology also, these radiation also affects your brain, so that also affects your mind. If you see in mental health in status of South Asia, almost one third of world population, they suffer from depression. Those live in South Asia, and 86 million people live in Southeast Asia have depression. If you see the mental health illness of the workplace, there's a statistics shows that there's a survey that shows that 76% of the workers believe that the company should be doing more activities to support their mental health. And 78% of the workers say that the pandemic has actually negatively affected their mental health, although working from home helped their family life work life balance, but also affected their mental health, because it has also increased the divorce rate, and at the same time you have more birth rates of children. 85% of the people say their mental health are causing sleep deprivation, poor physical health, reduced happiness at home, suffering family relationship, or isolation from friends. It's actually, people do not have their space, the mental space, or the personal me time. When you spend more time with family, and that actually causes this mental set. So what is the impact of the mental health illness in terms of the patient? So they go through like physiological disorders, which creates greater risk for the quality of life, their productivity, their education. And it's like they're more vulnerable to be abused, and leads to more additional health problems. In terms of the family, the caregivers, they are more involved with the patient, so actually it actually affects their productivity, their level of earning income, and also mentally, their mental health is also affected. And of course, losing job leads to increased risk of poverty. And as a society, although the specific societal impact of mental illness varies among cultures and nations, but untreated mental illness has significant cost to society. In 2001, WHO estimated that mental health problems cost developed nations between 3 and 4% of the gross national product. So, what do we do to actually create and enjoy mental health and well-being? You need to have you need to be positive. You need to have positive energy around you. You need to create positive energy, like we are creating positive energy among ourselves. That actually gives us more energy. You need to change your attitude. You need to be in control. That your attitude should be, you need to love yourself first. Then if you can love yourself, you can take care of yourself, then you can take care of your family. You need to see what is the purpose of your life. Life is too short. So what is the purpose of your life? Why you have come to this world? So you need to see that you need to be fit physically and mentally to take care of your family and to work. You need to see that basic needs are fulfilled, like food, water, and shelter, clothing. These are the essentials for mental and physical health. The relationships, it's very important. Relationships with your spouse, with your family, with your peer colleagues, with your bosses, with your friends, and surroundings. You need to Be surrounded by people who gives you positive energy. Just we need to go away who gives us negative energy. We need to go away from those people who makes us more gives us more anxiety, makes us angry, and a very grumpy person. So we need to be out of toxic people. So engagement, another thing that need to be really really important, and we need to engage ourselves with our colleagues, with our friends, with our family, with an incredible platform like G100, the woman platform, that we need to empower ourselves, how we can help each other, and how we can take the best practice. So think positive, and the last but the not but the least is have faith in God. Total surrender to God, that's the key. Total surrender to God leads you to positivity, leads to a very kind of sound mind. And if you do yoga and other breathing exercise, that helps you. Chanting God names really really helps, which I actually experienced during my brother's treatment, 10 months alone, stranded in another country. This is the kind of a small just two more slides I have. This is what actually COVID affect the mental health. According to WHO, 26.7%, there was an increase in the case of depressive disorders, and 25.6% increase in the case of anxiety disorders. And the females were more affected mentally than males globally, and younger people, especially those aged 20 to 24 years, were more affected mentally than older adults. So the key factors were stress, anxiety, fear, sadness, loneliness, depression, and losing your loved ones. If you can see the data, in terms of anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic, North America really struggled more. Europe struggled more in insomnia. Latin America struggled more in physiological distress. And Asia Pacific also struggled, but less than other countries. So this is the last slide. As I've said, that how to recover. I would say the recover is be positive, come out of your comfort zone, and heal. Talking to people, uh, holding someone's hand is also healing. That's the power. That's the greatest power that one can have. Not to talk, just to hold someone's hands. That heals people. That heals people to come out of the mental illness. So, and engagement need to be more. We need to be more engagement, talking to the right people, look after the physical health, and activities. Do activities that are enjoyable. Do something that you want to do something, you want to go somewhere and do something that you have never done. You do bungee jumping, go and do it with your friend. Do someone that can give you more positive energy. Don't wait. And steer away from harmful substances, toxic people. That's the most important thing. And go into the natural light. Go and walk into the into the park. Get some energy that will give you more energy. And make spiritual life supportive and avoid stigma and discrimination. As I said, that was the last thing, that if we thrive together, if we grow together, we heal each other, and we support each other. That's the more powerful I would say treatment for mental health that the women are facing at the moment. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.
Thank you so much for this wonderful, deep, focused, and wise presentation, Farzana. It was absolutely great. Thank you so much. That's why we start saying that is joy, because to be inspired like people like you, this is joy, and it's health. It's to be mentally ill and health. I would like just before we go to Bridget Dunn from Bangladesh, we go to US. And before, just very few remarks from your presentation. Have faith doesn't matter what religion, had faith on a religion or had faith on life, had education. People cannot getting support, cannot search for support if you're not educating for that. And digital insertion is very important that the people get connected through the digital media. So they need to be educated, they need to be training for that. And we also, and thanks for highlighting that gender gap. Again, we see how the gender gap affected mental health because the people are not connected, and that driven them into isolation because they cannot get on the train of evolution. So thank you, Farzana, for this. I know that you have to go. It would be a pleasure if you stay with us, but I think you have to go, isn't it?
Yes, because it's a weekend and it's in the evening. So
yeah, I know.
If you allow me, I it'll be an honor and privilege. And I would have stayed back to hear everyone, but the time, because of the timing and the day.
Yeah.
I
Don't
have
worry,
to take my daughter outside.
Of course. We are. This is women empowerment. So we know how to support each other. Farzana, it was a gift that you have given us today. So thank you so much from the deep of my heart. I hope to see you soon and share again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Bye. And now Bridget Town. She doesn't need a presentation. She's our lovely national chair from USA. She always working with us, inspire us, and she became essential for global networking for us and for our mental health of overcoming challenge. So Bridget Tan, the floor is all yours. Thank you so much for joining today as well.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for the honor and the delight to allow me to be with you today. I loved the presentations earlier, and the one thing that many times when we hear about mental health and depressions and all the spectrum of even mental well-being, a lot of time many of us have one or two reactions unless we have been suffering deeply. And as we know, with my medical background, but even without medical background, we know that a lot of time it is prevention or early treatment is always better than waiting until something is severe. But as Farzana says earlier, the interesting thing is if you have a broken leg, you will be going to the doctor and ideally to the specialist. You will try to go to the orthopedic specialist as fast as you possibly can. On the other hand, when we have a broken heart or our well-being is not as well, we tend to say, you know what, I'm busy. I'm going to wait. And even those with broken heart and grief, I'm busy. I'm going to put it off and I'm going to do something else and I'm doing something else. Imagine if your leg is broken and then you say, I'm going to take some aspirin so I can keep running. Or I'm going to go sit on the sofa and see if it get better. Would your broken leg really get better in an appropriate way? Most likely, no. And it is actually the same with broken heart. If your heart is broken for any reason, if something impacted you and you are not feeling well, and you just push it away, many times this does not go away. And with emotional health, as Farzana's imply, many studies shows already that it's actually, you might not feel the same intensity after the beginning, but it's actually because whatever that's going on with your emotional health simply morph and change into something else. That's why there's something we call hidden grief or unrecognized grief, because it's morphed into something else. It causes physical symptoms. It causes something we call triggers. Many times we hear the word in the English language, somebody has a trigger. Somebody says something, you react rather strongly instead of response normally. Most of the time, triggers are caused by unresolved grief, unresolved health conditions. And so what the unfortunately though, because it's not something feasible, many times the first thing is we try to stay busy and keep going and keep running, but it's the same thing when it's something emotionally impactful or you're not feeling well. Imagine if you are if you have a pneumonia, you're coughing. People sometimes do this, and then they see the detrimental result. They're like, oh, I'm not breathing so well. I'm coughing a little bit here and there, and they try to keep staying busy, being active. Well, then you end up in a hospital, and sometimes, unfortunately, you end up passing away from something that many times you can't see, which is pneumonia. And the mental health, in a way, is similar to that. And then the other unfortunate thing with mental health, part of the reasons that are so widespread, and we know that even before the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been grief pandemic. The Grief Recovery Institute, which is the only one that the one of the very few, the only one that is evidence-based grief institute in the world, shows that there has been a grief pandemic before the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's because the actual definitions of grief is the unsettling feelings caused by a change in your familiar routine or hope unmet. Grief is not only from death, divorce, dire diagnosis, or job loss. It's the unsettling feelings caused by a change in your familiar routine. Let me ask you, do you know anyone in your life who has not experienced a change in the last 2 to 3 years? And so practically everyone here is being affected, but sometimes being women, because we are, and also gentlemen, because we are caring, we care of other, we have a tendency to say, well, you know what? Yes, I am experiencing this and that. And at the same time, I'm more worried about this. I'm more worried about that. My business need me. Somebody else's need me. Well, there is a saying, if you go in an airplane, when you go to the airplane, they say it's put your oxygen mask out, your own oxygen mask first. And the reason for that is, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not well, you cannot be taking care of other people. Now, sometimes we think, well, okay, if we're not well, maybe we get irritable, maybe we don't do things right. Oh, I'm going to be strong. Have you ever heard anybody on the social media, sometimes in groups, say, be strong? Well, there is actually no such a thing of being strong. That is talking about the myth about mental health. That's the number one myth. Why? The HeartMath Institute shows that what you're feeling in your heart, that when we're trying to be strong, a lot of time we're feeling one thing, we're feeling anguish, we're feeling anxiety, we're feeling something else in your heart. You actually shows, the HeartMath Institute actually shows that what you're feeling in your heart, it's actually measurable. If you extend your arms out, what you feel in your heart is measurable 6 feet out. And so anyone around you, even if you put on a strong smiley face, and this is how I'm going to complete with this, even if you put on a strong smiley face, what you're feeling in your heart is measurable 6 feet out and impacting people 6 feet out. So there's no such a thing of being strong. If you are not feeling well inside, and not only they're measurable, the HeartMath Institute also shows that it will impact people outside you, which is the one that's closest to you, around you, is your loved ones. Whether it's your family member, another person, your colleagues, co-worker, or even your pets. And so I would invite you to just allow yourself a moment. Allow yourself a moment, and there are a lot of call for positivity and a lot of things. By all means, I believe in positivity. I believe it is good. But if you are going through things, there are two things that I would highly encourage when you or your loved one going through things and having a little bit uneasiness with your mental well-being. The first one is to allow yourself to be you. Everyone, your heart want to be validated. And instead of letting anybody else tells you what it is, to keep in mind that you and I are meant to be like your fingerprints. We all have different fingerprints combinations for a reason. We're meant to be unique. And even if you look at your fingerprints, each finger has a slightly different prints. You're meant to be unique moment to moment. Allow your heart and you to be you, your authentic you. If at some moment you don't feel positive, you don't need to be positive. If some moment you want to cry, go ahead and cry. It's healthy. Study shows that it helps you. And then to allow support. To allow support, as Farzana said, there is a community here for you. We are here for you to allow you and accept you to be you just as you are and embrace you, and together we help each other rise. And so I invite you to just share this message and embrace this message in your heart in addition to your mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bridget. It's always a pleasure, a joy, and empowering to listen to you. The first time that I met Bridget was before the COVID in London. Do you remember that paradigmatic event that we have been together? And I started learning from her. So how you could cope with it. She's a coach, but she is also a charismatic woman that delivers health. And that is the power of connections, that you could absorb health just to listen from others. Thank you so much, Brigitte. Stay there, please, so we could continue joining this conversation. That's the idea, friendly conversation to learn, exchange, and connect. And we are going now, if she is ready and if she wanted, to patient Modevi from United Kingdom. Let me say that because I love to say that. It's from Bangladesh to Hong Kong to South Africa. I love to say that. This is the very essence of what we are, global and networking. So we really are. Patient, please, the floor is yours, and introduce yourself the way you like to do it.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here, and I cannot even stress how much the two ladies who went before us, the way they really, I think they paved the way. They paved the way for us to come and add a little bit more on the subject, but it's really important. I'm really glad to be here because I feel that it is really important that we keep an ongoing discussion about mental health awareness, but also about all the issues, everything that comes together to create barriers in our lives. And I feel like when we do this discussion, what happens is that we transcend generation, we transcend cultures, tradition, and any challenges that happen that could have come also from generational trauma. So I believe that mental health issues or challenges have been here all along. Unfortunately, is the world we live in that is even more exacerbating what is happening and the lack of opportunities for people to be supported. And whilst we are doing this discussion, we are educating people, we are opening this discussion so that there is non-judgmental ways for people to be able to open up and say that they need help, they need support, and that we all need these periods to periods in our lives. So I believe that on a daily basis, there is things that we can do. Obviously, we can adopt habits. There are plenty of modalities around us that are available for us to understand and to add into our daily life. However, one thing that is really important, I'm trying not to repeat myself from everything that has been said before, but what is really important is to understand that everybody has the same understanding of what mental health challenges are. And it's not happening right now. So the reason why I'm saying this is because right now I am in the United Kingdom, but I am from an African background. I was born in France, and I've been living my whole life in France until I came here. Coming from a cultural background which is African, it is not as easy, or it has not been easy to come up and say, for example, how you feel as such. The reason why is because there are more important things put in place. And those important things are, like Dr. Bridget said before, it could be like the busyness of life, because you want your career, because you need to provide, for your family. All those things are things that comes in place. But what we need to do is we need to create a campaign on a daily basis, not only in Mental Health Awareness Month, but on a daily basis, so that people understand in different communities, in different countries, how we can support one another and how we should be there, but also how people can be open. So there are different things that we can put in place. So obviously, speaking into schools, we can speak into communities, into institutions, go into companies. Right now, there's a lot more companies who are doing well-being work for their employees. They're providing spaces so that people are able to bring a little bit more of support into their life. And this is really amazing, but I think we can do more. So in terms of self-care, talking in terms of self-care, there's different types of self-care that will contribute to each and everyone's well-being. So I think they've been already mentioned, but there's the physical well-being, there's the emotional well-being, there's the social well-being, environmental well-being, financial, spiritual, and so on. There are many different dimensions that are creating our world right now. So the idea is, how do we tend to these dimensions? Because whether we want it or not, they're going to act as a domino effect, and therefore they're going to bring pressure or challenges in one dimension or the other. But it's how do we tend to those? And I believe that you should tend to those the way we tend to a garden or to flowers. So you want to see your flowers bloom, you water them. And how we can do this individually is bringing in, first of all, assessing where we feel that we need support, where we feel that we need help, and then searching for this help. Now, the way I'm saying it, it might seem easy, but it's not as easy as that. I feel like everything is in the acknowledgement. Quite a lot of people who commit suicide, for example, have not opened up to others around them. And I feel that the more we make it something that this discussion that is really important, and we make it really open, and we have no taboo, the more we are able to support those people to come forth and say, I need help. So the first thing will be to say that we need help. And then the second thing, we're looking for things that we can put in our life on a daily basis that can help us. And that could be in different ways. That could be habit, that could be a friend, that could be a company that is there. For example, the Samaritans here in the UK are doing a lot of work around this, but you also have Mind, which is a charity as well that supports not only adults, but also young people and children into getting a better understanding of their own mental well-being. And I believe that going through my work and what I've realized in terms of when I've been discussing things with people is that the younger we start with young people, with children, the better we are able to normalize what mental health is and how we can support one another. So that was me today. So I guess I hope I made an impact in your life. And if you need support, I hope that you can reach out to someone who will be able to help you, or at least open up the path for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patience, for open the path for us to learn from you, to absorb this kind of energy. When we face something intangible, we say energy, because we don't know how to say. But this is the kind of atmosphere that helps to mental health, that boost mental health, balance health. And I would like to bring the stage now to Pravila Naker. She's new in our platform. It's the first time. I hope it's just the first one for many others. But before we go to Pravila, I would like to ask you, any of you, Ivy, Bridget, or Videshni, to make comments in relation to the wonderful presentation from patient, no? Because we talk about many aspects, and one that is particularly important is that connections, social media could represent that path that patients say, to be connected, to get out from grief, from loneliness, from isolation. At the same time, social media could became a threat for mental health. So how we keep the balance? So please, before Pravila start with the presentation, please make your comments, including Pravila. Please unmute your micros, Bridget, Ivy, Pravila.
Yeah. Patient has a good point. She has a good point in terms of social media becoming a threat and all this. The only thing is just knowing how to approach it in a different way. And as practitioners, knowing how to be able to deliver with nurture and not delivering everything for human consumption, because everybody can misconstrue the messaging that we're offering, and they can re-engineer it in different ways and then impact others in a very negative manner. So that's why we are very, manifold the way we deliver things as practitioners while being on the air. And that is a factor that we all as practitioners are keeping in mind.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with that, that it's very true that social media can be a wonderful thing, but social media can be very, very harmful for people who are experiencing through things, experiencing mental conditions. We see how many times it says, be strong, be positive. Well, sometimes that's the last thing somebody's needed. Why? But think about this. Next time before you say be strong, be positive. If you see a post of someone saying that I'm going through this, typically human, they have already been doing everything under their own power to be strong. And then it reached to the point that it become too much for them. They finally said something. Now you tell them to be strong. What message are you telling them? You are indirectly telling them that they are not strong. When you say be strong, you're saying to them, you're not being strong. You're not trying hard enough. That's invalidations. That hurting them more many times. And so we want to be mindful on what we are saying to others. We also want to be mindful what we allow others to say to us. Emerson says, the writers and philosopher Emerson from United States says that stand guard at the portal of your mind. Stand guard at the portal of your mind. So when you see the what's going on out there, you want to actually be mindful and allow yourself and your loved ones to receive educations from people who are actually educated and not just the mass. To receive education from specialists. If you break your leg, back to my example earlier, if you break your leg, would you go to your neighbor or even to your grandmother on how to fix your broken leg? Or would you even go to the primary care physicians? You would go to the orthopedic specialists. The same things, you want to do that. And there are plenty of educations. I, in general, practically once a month do a free event where it's just an event online, you can join, and there are many other people beside myself that do that on mental health and on grief, on how you can have a better understanding from the correct resource. So those will be my recommendation.
Thank you so much for that recommendation, Bridget. Absolutely. We welcome Shirley. Wing Chou, and from Hong Kong. You know that it's very important for me to highlight the places. So from so far, Shirley, you are very welcome. You are healthy. You are mental healthy. Yes or no?
I am now. I have been in the last few years. But how long do I have, Mar?
So well, we are going to just if you I just pass the floor. If you wait a few minutes, Pravila will start for her presentation, if it's okay for you. Just I pass the floor to say to give you the welcome, and if you like to say something related to social media and the impact of mental health, negative or positive, if you want to say it right now, 2 minutes for you. If not, we pass to Pravila.
Go ahead, I will wait.
Go ahead. Okay, fantastic. Thank you for joining, Shirley. I know that it's a challenging day for you today. Yeah. Pravila, please go ahead. Introduce yourself, please. Pravila is from South Africa.
Thank you, Ma, and thank you to the G100 committee for allowing me this space to speak here on such an important topic, I think, especially something that I think has been highlighted more than ever post-COVID as well. I want to speak a little bit about my experiences as a psychologist working in South Africa. Most of you would know that we are from a very diverse country, not without its problems as well. As a country, South Africans, I think we are still reeling from all the wounds of our past. We're still playing catch up to so many other countries, which means things like self-care and mental health can easily take a backseat. And often it's seen as a luxury that people that can be enjoyed only by the fortunate few. So I think one of the most relevant discussions that have come out after COVID, particularly focusing on mental health, was that the challenges that we're faced with regard to depression and isolation. Before COVID, we were already suffering from another pandemic, which was the social isolation that people were experiencing. And COVID has just come in and exacerbated that. Now, I know I'm focusing a lot on COVID, but I want to link it to what's happening in my country, in South Africa at the moment as well. We cannot ignore at times what we are dealing with, the parallel crisis of the aftermath of COVID and the social isolation and the mental health that comes with that on the other end. What I've found with the people that I work with, so I have experience in working with people in communities, and that's the rural areas of Johannesburg in South Africa, and I have experience working in the private sector as well. And what I found was quite common in both sectors was that the ways in which people are dealing with this isolation, the depression, and all the mental health issues in the aftermath of COVID. And that is the ability to connect with each other. And I strongly believe that one of the ways to combat all of this would be to connect. And how do we do that? How do we find ourselves connecting? It's not something that's easy. It's not something that's been taught to us on a daily basis. It's not something that we even speak about often. But however, if we can find ways to connect with each other, we can start turning the wheel and creating more positive outcomes for all of us. So how do we create this connection? We need to start to learn how to connect ourselves first. And how do we do that? We have to take time out through self-care strategies. And why is self-care so important? If we do not take care of ourselves, how are we going to give back to anybody else? We all will simply just burn out. So self-care obviously offers a lot of ways to also decompress and provide healthy ways to de-stress as well. I'm not going to go into all of the other stuff that my colleagues have already spoken about, like the emotional health, intellectual health, physical health, because they have spoken about that. But what I would like to speak about is the challenges that we as a country face when we are talking about self-care strategies. I find that working in South Africa with its incredibly diverse population makes it really challenging to prescribe specific strategies that people should adhere to in terms of taking care of themselves. I think it's important to understand each person's specific needs and to work accordingly. There's no one size that fits all, especially coming from some of the experiences that I've had working in both the suburbs and in communities. example, you cannot talk to someone about financial health in terms of how to save money every month if the biggest thing on their mind in that moment is where their next meal coming from. So instead, we've had to find different and innovative ways of working with mental health and self-care that will accommodate each person's unique life stage as well. So instead of talking about how do you save money every month, we'd rather explore ways in which people can use their skills to generate an income. In so doing, we're not only working through the financial concerns, but we're also opening up their minds to looking at things that they're good at. And when people can feel validated in terms of what they're good at, this can then contribute to positive mindsets in the long run. I found that cultural factors play such a huge role in how we engage with things like mental health and self-care. If I say to someone, engage in more relaxation activities like yoga and meditation, to some cultures, this may feel very, very homely, something that they can relate to. But for many other cultures, particularly in South Africa, it will feel very foreign because this is something that's frowned upon. People don't know what yoga is, what meditation is. So I find that we have to constantly keep adapting the way in which we work to accommodate everybody else. So, for example, while a person in the city may have access to resources to assist them, people in outlying areas may not readily have this available. So we have to look at what resources are available and how accessible it is. The other important thing that I think that we need to bear in mind when we speak about mental health is that it needs to encompass all aspects of all people's lives. And we have to work really hard on educating people on the benefits of taking care of themselves. A lot of us come from cultures where we've never seen our parents or anyone else in our families or communities actually take part in self-care strategies. Living in societies and cultures where busyness is embraced and actually applauded makes it really challenging for people to slow down and take care of their mental health. So I think we really need to work on creating safe spaces and dialogues that can embrace all of this while we take care of ourselves. One of the biggest pushbacks that I get when I speak to my clients about self-care is that isn't that being selfish? If I take care of myself, what about everybody else that I have to take care of? So working along those lines, thinking about collectivistic ways in which we can bring in self-care and mental health, and also educating people that it's not about being selfish, but if we take care of ourselves, then it's so much easier to care for others around us as well. In South Africa, we have a term called Ubuntu. So I think this will speak very much to that as well. Another important thing while we're talking about mental health is how do we actually talk to ourselves? Watching the language we use when we speak about ourselves or to ourselves. Are we using language that is punitive, that is unforgiving? So this falls very much, I believe, in the category of self-care. Because if you're talking to yourself in language that is punitive, then obviously someone who you're punishing, you're not going to want to take care of them. So one of the things that I use with my clients is I'll ask them to think about how would you speak to a friend? Would you shout at them at all if they come to you for advice or discuss a challenge? So just as you would with a friend, be gentle, be kind, be caring. And sometimes this works really nice when I do role plays with them to show them actually how punitive they can be on themselves. I think a wonderful quote by Maya Angelou that says, as you grow older, you will discover that you have two hands, one for helping yourself and the other for helping others. And I think when we look at mental health, this speaks so profoundly to it, because if we can help ourselves, we are extending another hand to help others. I think, if coming from a country as well that has so many wounds that we are still reeling from, still working through, what I'm constantly kind of advocating for is that if we can heal our wounds, we have the potential to heal so many generations that come after us. And of course, there's so many other things to talk about in terms of mental health. I am aware of time, but creating balance in our lives and making sure that, we also have people that we can be accountable to in terms of making sure that we are taking care of ourselves. Okay, thank you very much for your time and for this opportunity.
Thank you, Pravila. You have been gentle, you have been kind, and you have been caring with that presentation to all of us. It was really empowering, and thank you so much. I hope you are feeling really inspired by this global networking that have joined with mental health awareness. Thank you. We are going now. We are running a little bit of time, but Ivy, are you ready now to go ahead? Yes.
Yes, I'm gonna be brief.
Okay, and before Ivy, before you say Bideshni is still having problems with her connection, I would like to know if she is okay. Let me see, because she had trouble of connectivity at the whole event. Bideshni, are you there? Could you hear us?
Hello. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, perfectly fine. Yes.
Okay.
Would you
great. I think my mental health is being tested at the moment as we speak because of the connectivity issue with load shedding right now. I think I was, instrumental in bringing Pravila aboard, because being on this platform before, I realized that, it's so important in the learning and in the exchange of ideas, this invaluable connection that we are creating across different countries around the world. And for us to be able to share, how diverse our opinions are based on the socio-economic conditions in countries. Like Pravila, my work has also been in communities. And, while I applauded Farzana for, speaking positivity into individuals that might be facing crisis, like Pravila, I would like to agree that it is very difficult to achieve results in our country through positive psychology. And it is only through learning on these platforms that we realize that it is connection and connectivity and creating that type of mindset even among professionals in communities. Like Pravila, like myself, we like to take our qualifications and go back into communities to make a difference. And for us in this country, that is largely a very selfless effort, because once we are there, we realize, just how over inundated problems become. As Pravila was saying, and from my personal experience, it's very hard to say to someone, go in front of the mirror and speak the positives that you are experiencing or you see in yourself, when again they're fighting, in terms of the breadline to feed their families and feed themselves. So I like the fact that we are such a diverse culture and representation of culture on board this chat. But I would also like to know from the participants here, how would you advise communities that we are currently facing, where there is, destitute, hunger, poverty-related issues, including, people that we work with out of rehabilitation from substance abuse? What would your advice be in terms of changing the dynamic for them? Thank you.
Thank you, Bideshni. The question is there. A few minutes. Thank you so much, Bideshni. A few minutes to reply to Bideshni, and then we go directly to Ivy. Anyone would like to reply to that? Yes, patient. Yeah.
Yes. I believe when you are in a situation that is so overwhelming on every front, it is difficult to, like you both said, to offer support. But what you can offer sometimes as well is a timeline that is way forward than where they are right now. Because them seeing themselves in that timeline can bring a little bit of hope. And I know that hope can sound really dreamland, if we can say it like that. However, hope will then bring that slight positivity or that slight ounce of I can do this or I can reach there. It might not be their reality of what they're doing right now, but it might be where they want to be soon. And I found that in a lot of difficulty, where people, like even with cancer patients, I know we're not talking about this now, but they're also affected with mental health. What happens is when they've kept the hope, they have the hope of, being alive and surviving the situation. It's helped them tremendously. So I think you can always start from there.
Thank you, Ivy. Thank you, Patient. Patient is from the wing of openness and wisdom. So you know how important is mental health, global networking, and openness and wisdom to print with wisdom this conversation. Bidesi, you would like to make some final remarks, and we go to Ivy, please.
Now, thank you so much for that contribution, Patience. I agree with you that, giving people hope is the best way forward. And I think another speaker mentioned the importance of connection. Sometimes when we drive into communities, when they are able to just see better cars entering, people that are dressed in a different way, we forget about that power and influence that we might have just in our own being, and especially when you work among children. When I worked around children that were actually addicts, if you had told them, you can have a better life if you work harder at school, and most of them would start running away from you because they thought, if you look at the teachers that epitomize a school background right now, if we're looking at South Africa, those are the most lowly paid workers, as opposed to the actual drug lords that are driving fancy cars and the like. But sometimes when you move into these communities, and for all of you ladies, I'm sure that you have noticed that we actually have the potential and the power.
Again with the problems of connectivity. Ivy, please, if you're ready, you introduce yourself, please. Ivy also belongs to G100.
Yes, I'm part of G100, the prison reform sector.
Prison reform. Okay. Another. You see, we have another win. We have 4 wins today. It's amazing. Ivy, please go ahead. We are very happy to have you today.
Thank you very much. I'm Ivy. I'm a coach, mentor, author, neurographic artist, and approach things very differently in my practice. So the speakers that have said a lot, today, there's a lot of insight for people to take from here. And myself, I'll be approaching it from the way that if we want, what I normally say is, take life as I approach life as you building a dream home. That's how I approach my clients. So they have to build a dream home for themselves, the one that suits them to their needs, because only them understand themselves fully. We as practitioners, they're there to listen and grant them clarity and strategies to way to re-engineering and, getting their pillars of their house to be, to have force to withstand in the times of crisis, as they were, some of the speakers are saying, in terms of some houses that are collapsing, and how do you withstand the times that is not much pleasant, as we say. So it's up to us to help them, to give them the keys and the tools, give them that knowledge so they can be able to proceed and, to be able to transform themselves as well. So myself, I'll be approaching it from the artistic manner. We have ways from within us as human beings. We're artistic beings, and we have to tap into that aspect. And the speakers was talking about communication. It is essential for us to engage with the community, with communication and ways as well for the times that we are these days in terms of mental health. Not everybody is a verbal being, so we as well have to cater for those that are not verbal beings. So we can be able to grant them as well access as well voice for them to communicate what is happening from within them, for them to be able to elicit, map, and manage those emotions that they have from within erupting, in workplaces, homes, and causing chaos within the communities. So one thing for us ourselves, and me as a woman, I will be addressing it as a woman, because one of the speakers has said that it's very difficult for us to manage our homes, work dynamics, and gives us all this kind of effects and in our bodies, mind, and soul. But in this case, we are women, so we can understand ourselves, and there's power in smile, and this is something that we don't give to each other. We can pass to each other, in a regular basis, outdoors. We don't even grant a smile to even a stranger. You don't even know if that smile can impact that person, give that person a boost that he needs, and that happens a lot within ourselves. For example, in the minority groups, that we as, Black people, because I'm a Black person, we don't engage with each other. You have to see the faces, and that is a very sad aspect. That is one of my findings. And the other one as well is being able to grant ourselves as well the power of silence and in silence, because there's power in silence when I don't know if you have in one of you have actually this exercise, that being in a busy road and being stagnant in a busy road, and do that exercise of observation. You see everybody transiting from one side and another, nobody looking at each other. It's quite terrifying what you can see, So us as women that are birthing this nation that we are in, and it's already chaotic, we have to be able to be good to ourselves. And being good to ourselves is being good to our children that are unborn. We have to address that aspect, because we women are the one transmitting these traumas to the unborn. So if we begin to work our way backwards, we can begin to, things can begin to change. There's tactics as well. There's tactical ways of approaching this. I myself am very into the arts department, because with arts, that's where you can be able to extract all those emotions that are within, that is erupting. You can bring it out, in anger, and trying to make the most of what's, is stressing you, and be able to, as well, to deal with this art, form to help to release this anxiety, stress, and even the depression that people are feeling these days, and burnout. And these arts can be able to unify, communities, because there's nothing like bringing a paint and, in the midst of the paint, there's dialogue, there's colors, and the nations as well, and different kind of communities can come together and, in a non-verbal way, they create art indirectly. And that's where the dialogue begins. And in between the arts, beginning, that is a way as well of re-engineering what is in, bringing it out, making it look beautiful, and then as well earning in the process. That's one of the aspects that me, myself, and a couple of communities that I'm involved with, seeing how we can re-engineer the arts, the world of art, for the communities to earn, as one of the speakers was saying. So it's a way, and it's a vehicle. So let's see if we can be able to help these communities heal, communicate, and unite with themselves, and embrace themselves. And let's give them the power of a smile. And that is me.
Thank you. Thank you, even for that last part of "that's me," and that's why it was so lovely. You have gone through all that aspect. Especially, I love when you say this indifference. These people who don't look at each other, even if you are in a virtual, even they are not looking at each other. They are just there. So thank you for that. Thank you for that lesson of connections, Ivy. We need to walk the talk on this. We need to continue building or reeducating people. I would like, if anyone would like to say anything right now, very quick, please, like 2 minutes, because Shirley, our dearest Shirley, she is your term, Shirley, and you are going to give the final remarks. Okay, so you have a very tough job. Anyone would like to
contribute?
Yes, please.
Just to speak to Ivy. Thank you for your beautiful smile. It immediately created a connection in me. And I also want to state that when it came to your advice about, craft activities, painting and the like, I actually lived that journey where, you create vision boards with the communities and you see the healing by bringing about arts and craft into their lives, shifting them from right brain thinking where depression lies to left brain thinking, where you could see that, there's actually the ability to self-heal through these mediums of art and creativity. So thank you for that contribution.
Anyone more, or we go directly to Chile? Yeah? Shirley, please, go ahead.
Or contribute or share with all of you. Basically, it's am I online? Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Okay. Segues beautifully with what Ivy points out. Not only because when we smile, we are changing, literally changing the hormones in our system, right? And we're lowering our blood pressure and doing all kinds of stress management magic. But we are also connecting to our inner child and using the arts, basically, particularly through music, which is my forte and also my lifelong passion. Our entire system, our brains, whether it's the left part of it or the right part of it, would be immediately impacted by the energy, the rhythm, and the tonal senses that will come out of the vibration of the music. So we become almost powerless. We're directed by the energy, by the message, and by the joy, or maybe by the vibrancy, or that resilience in the music, that immediately we remove ourselves from that source of negativity or worry or scare or dread, whatever it is that is bringing down our mental health. So one of the few things that I'm going to share in my very short time is I like to bring out the acronym CIA. Okay, so I would encourage anyone who either is maybe suspecting that you are going through a journey of mental health challenges, or you're trying to assist someone who you suspect is having a hard time when the mental health is maybe not as optimal as possible, be a CIA. And what I mean by that is choose. C stands for choose. Choose what you see, what you hear, what you say, what you think, and even what you taste. We know that physical health and mental health are connected. So every time you're putting something healthy and supportive into your system, make sure you are scanning, you're choosing, focusing on the thoughts that are supporting you, not submerging you. So that is very important. Comedy, for example, I have actually personally sank to the very bottom of the abyss in terms of mental health twice in my life. And it was literally comedy which saved my life. So music and comedy, and also choose all the thoughts, all the things that you see, vision boards, for example, right? Okay, and the I stands for invest. Now, if we're investing in something that doesn't yield the kind of returns or is really draining down our finances or whatever, right, that investment is, our left brain would tell us, okay, time to ditch it and time to invest in something else. So whether it is learning new philosophy or reading a lot of books that help you, invest in new thoughts, invest in new learning systems, invest in new habits of relating to yourself and also connecting to the people around you who will actually be able to support you one little step at a time. And at the end, I would like to say appreciate. That stands for the A. Appreciate the little things that you normally wouldn't even think about. For example, clean air. We know a lot of places in the world that is not taken, right? Appreciate the sun coming out. Appreciate that your cells, your blood cells, your eyesight, your sense of smell, and your hair, everything about your body, and also the thoughts that you have are supporting you, are giving you options, giving you the energy that you need to consider other ways of looking into your situation and to really connecting to that deep faith within you that you know you can be tougher than your challenge, that when there's a will, there's always a way. And at the end of the day, I want to encourage everyone to go to sleep no matter what happens in life. We can only control ourselves. What we cannot control, we can forget it. And we just focus on ourselves and what we can better one little step at a time. So I think that's all the time I have, right? Is that about time to wrap up, Mar?
You could take more time, of course, Shirley. You could take your time and you will do the final remarks.
Yeah, and I would echo actually what almost every single speaker has been talking about. When we are in a very deep dive, when we're already in a dire situation, the way to elevate, to improve our mental health would become complex. That we can all agree on, right? You can put in the chat, all of you, these amazing sisters from around the world. So what is really vital, I think, unless there is a really dire situation that is totally out of our control and completely, suddenly disrupts our life beyond our belief or imagination. Otherwise, it is so important for parents or guardians to start the journey of mental health or this mental hygiene very early on with children, with toddlers even, so that they really have that mind wiring, the wiring in their heads, the neural programming, that they know they are resilient and that there are ways for them to express how they feel and what scares them. We don't want to wait till the problem becomes so deep and so complicated and so kind of hopeless. Then we try to intervene, right? So when we really want to solve a problem, there will be a way. So that is basically what I would like to share and remind, or maybe reiterate for everyone, because this is the Mental Health Awareness Month, right? So make sure you audit all your thoughts and appreciate every day. At the end of the day, what really saved me a few years ago from my own abyss is that I started smiling to my own organs and to my inner child every night before bedtime. Before I close my eyes, I talk to my cells, I talk to my body, I talk to my soul, I talk to my mind. And that really, really helped me. So I hope that some of you can, out there listening, know that there is always a way. You're okay. All is well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this, Shirley. Last remarks, Pravila, Ivy, and we need to go. We must go. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you so much for being here. Four wins on a stage today. Thank you all. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.